Hello everyone and welcome back to our Shir and Dishu Bahalacha. Today we are holding on Reish Mem Tes Amid Aleph and Siman Shin Pei Aleph. Mirat Hashem, we're going to finish Siman Shin Pei Aleph today. Since we do have, I think, a little extra time, I'm going to do a little bit of Pirkei Avos. We'll jump back into Pirkei Avos, something that we've been neglecting a little bit because we've been learning such hard stuff. And then we had Shivas B'Tammuz, so we spoke about Shivas B'Tammuz instead of Pirkei Avos. So now I'm going to go into Avos Perek Sheni, and we are up to Mishnah Beis. So the Mishnah says, Histakel b'shloisha dvarim. You should look at three things. Ve'ein ata bali de avera. If you keep your eye on three concepts, you will not come to be over an avera. What are the three things? Da ma lamayla mimcha mimech. You should be aware of what is above you. You should be aware that the Rabbeinu Shalom is always above you. And what is that? What does that mean that the Rabbeinu Shalom is above you? Ayin raya. There's an eye watching. Va'oizen shaimas. And there's an ear listening. V'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavin. And all of your deeds are written down in a sefer. Nothing is forgotten. Now, one thing that's always fascinating to me is that Chazal wrote this Mishnah in a day and age when they didn't have cameras and they didn't have recording devices. For us, the concept of ayin ra va'oizen shamas v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavin is a very simple concept. For us, we know what it means that when we walk out on the street nowadays, there's cameras everywhere. Everywhere. You should know. You go out on the street, everything that you do is being recorded. Not just metaphysically. We don't even just have to imagine that the Rabbeinu Shalom is recording everything that we do and it could be played back. It's factually happening. Everybody has cameras on their porches. Everybody now has cameras in their doorbells. And just look at the news. Every time somebody commits a crime, the next day on the news, he was caught on surveillance footage. What is that surveillance footage? They went to the house across the street that had a camera. They went to the store across the street that had a camera. So for us, the idea of ayin ra va'oizen shamas, we understand that. But Chazal had no such concept. Chazal never saw a video camera. They didn't have video cameras. They didn't have cameras. They didn't have recording devices. Yet Chazal very clearly understood the concept of it. And they were able to conceptualize that the Rabbeinu Shalom for sure knows everything. And the Rabbeinu Shalom sees all. And the Rabbeinu Shalom hears all. And there's ein shikha lifnei kisei kveidecha. There's no forgetfulness by Bari Olam. Bari Olam knows everything that we did and it's never forgotten. So if a person could somehow keep these three things in his mind, if as he comports himself through the day, he always realizes that everything that he's doing, it's not private. There's no such thing as private. You're always standing in front of Bari Olam. You could be in Chadri Chadarim. You could be in the most private room in the world. Bari Olam is right there. Bari Olam sees everything. Maloi chol haaretz kvaydai. My Rebbe, Rebbe Feinstein, Zal sein gesund und stark. My Rebbe always said that it's very important for us when we say Kedusha and we say Maloi chol haaretz kvaydai, that the Shechina of the Rabbeinu Shalom, the Kavod, the glory of Hashem's presence is Maloi chol haaretz. It is filled throughout the world. It's very important for us to realize what that means. It means that it's everywhere. A person thinks, well, I'll go into a dirty place. I'll go into a place where you're not allowed to learn Torah. A person says, I'm in the Beis HaKisei. Somebody's in the bathroom. He's not even allowed to learn Torah. He's not allowed to say any davar shel kedusha. And it's very private, and he's all alone, and the door is locked. Maybe he thinks, the Shechina is not here. What would the Shechina be doing in the bathroom? No, there's no such thing. Maloi chol haaretz kvaydai. If somebody thinks that there's somewhere where he can go, that he's out of the divine presence, then he thinks that there's somewhere where he can go where he could be over an avera, and nobody will know. There's no such a thing. Maloi chol haaretz kvaydai. The Rabbeinu Shalom is everywhere. Whatever you do, the Rabbeinu Shalom knows. Now, the Rabbeinu Yoina asks on this Mishnah, he's troubled by the Mishnah. Why does the Tana tell us three different things? Ayin ra, oizen shaimas, v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavin. It's all one thing. The point is that, like we said, Malay Chalaretz Kvaydai, the Rabbeinu Shalom sees all and knows all. Why does the Tana portray it to us in three different ways? Ayin ra, an eye sees, Ayzit shamas, an ear hears, v'chol masech b'sefer l'chtavin. So the Rabbeinu Yoina says that obviously this is a mashal, this is a parable, it's an allegory. It's a way to give it over to somebody where in whatever situation he finds himself, he realizes Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Summit, he places the Rabbeinu Shalom before him at all times, and no matter what his challenge may be, he realizes that the Rabbeinu Shalom is aware of what he's doing. Ayin Ra, an eye that sees, is to impress upon the person that whatever you're doing, it's being seen. You're being watched. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter how private you think you are, whatever action you take, the Rabbeinu Shalom is watching you. The Rabbeinu Shalom sees it. Oizen Shemas, a person speaks. How does a person speak? You know, we have a few blot Gemara in the beginning of Masechtas Pesachim that's all about how it's very important for a person to use a lashon nekiah. That when a person speaks, he should speak in a refined way. A Yid is not supposed to speak the way we hear non-Jews speak in the street. The speech that we hear nowadays, where every sentence is interlaced with obscenities, and it's like, it's a part of regular speech. You know, obscenities and disgusting words have become just part of everyday speech. A Yid is not supposed to speak that way. A Yid is supposed to speak in a refined manner, because how you speak means something. If you get used to expressing yourself in a non-menschliche way, in a coarse way, it makes you a coarse person. It means that your thought process is a coarse thought process, because the way you express yourself, it comes from the way you think. So if you get used to using unrefined speech, so that means that when you're thinking in your mind, you're thinking in an unrefined way. It changes the way you think. It changes your mind. It's a link to your neshama. So a Yid is supposed to always speak in a refined manner. Oizen shemas, everything that you say. Of course, lashon hara chas v'shalom. If a person says things that he's not allowed to say, realize oizen shemas, there's an ear that's hearing. You say something, you think it's between you and the four walls. A person is in the car all by himself. He thinks he could say something and nobody hears it. No, the Rebbe Shalom does hear it. You're speaking to a close friend and you think nobody else knows what you're saying. You tell him, listen, I'll tell you something, but don't tell anyone. And you go ahead, you say some lashon hara. The Rebbeinu Shalom hears it. Oizen shamas. V'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavin. Everything you say is written down. Now we know, ain't shikcha lifnei kisei kvadecha. There's no shikcha, there's no forgetfulness by Bari Olam. You can't think that I did something 10 years ago, the Rebbeinu Shalom forgot about it. No, the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't forget about it. There's no shikcha. The Rebbeinu Shalom knows. But I think the Tana is telling us something more. V'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavin. Everything that you do, all of your deeds, are written down in a sefer. It means that everything that you do makes an impression. Everything that you do has a lasting effect. When you do something, when you take an action, it changes you. Every action that you do is part of what forms you. It's part of what makes you what you are. When you do something, that becomes something that's in your background. And it doesn't matter if anybody knows about it, if nobody knows about it. The bottom line is, it's a deed that you did. We all have done things that we're not proud of. We all have done things that we're not happy that we did. And we know that Baruch Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us tshuva. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the ability to do tshuva, to repent. And we have the ability to change those things that we did in our past. But don't think that the things that you did in your past are forgotten about and that there is no lasting impression from them. There's a lasting impression from everything that you ever did. It's all imprinted upon your neshama. And it all has a ripple effect. Everything that you do, it has a ripple effect upon your neshama. It changes what you are. If you did something that you were not supposed to do, it has to be erased and it has to be changed through the power of tshuva. And the power of tshuva is immense. We know Chazal tell us that when somebody does something wrong and then he does tshuva, if he does tshuva miyira, if he does tshuva out of a feeling of fear, if he does tshuva because he doesn't want to get punished, he says, I'm afraid of what I did. I know Bari Olam knows what I did. I don't want to get punished for it. I don't want to get patched for it. So if he does tshuva miyira, So then the avera that he did, if he did it b'mezid, if he did it intentionally, so nase kishkagos. It's turned around and it's made as if he did it inadvertently. You still did it, but you did it inadvertently. All right, it's not so bad. You do tshuva me'ava. If you do tshuva out of a sense of love for Barei Olam, what does that mean? It means you realize that you did something wrong, and you realize everything that Barei Olam did for you. You realize how much you owe Barei Olam. You realize just what your relationship with Barei Olam is supposed to be. And out of a sense of love for Barei Olam, of gratitude to Barei Olam, you go ahead and you say, it can't be that I did this thing. How can I do something against the will of Barei Olam? And out of such a feeling, you go ahead and you do tshuva. So then it's nasa, not kishkagos, then it's nasa kischuyos. Then the avera that you did actually is turned into a merit. And the reason for that is, when you do tshuva me'ava, when you do tshuva from a sense that you owe Barei Olam and that you love Barei Olam and you can't bear the thought that you did something against the will of Barei Olam, and now you do tshuva for that bad thing that you did, you know what you're doing? You're using the bad thing that you did to help yourself grow. You're using the bad thing that you did to increase your ruchnius. So then it's nasa kischuyos. So then you're actually using it to bring yourself in a good direction. So then the avera that you did is actually having a positive ripple effect. So all right, so then it's nasa kischuyos. All right, that's Parak Beis, Mishnah Beis. Now we're going to go back into the Mishnah Berurah. So we are holding in Siman Shin Pei Aleph. We're holding in Siman Shin Pei Aleph in Sif Hey. Says the Mechaber, Shnei Batim B'Shnei Tzidei Rishus Harabim. If you have two houses on two opposite sides of the street in Rishus Harabim, so you have a real bona fide Rishus Harabim, you have a public thoroughfare that's 16 amos wide, and you have one house on one side of the Rishus Harabim, one house on the other side of the Rishus Harabim. Now an interesting thing happened. V'kifum einam Yehudim mechitza b'Shabbos. Now non-Jewish construction workers came, and they put up walls in middle of the Rishus Harabim in such a manner that they have walled in the area of Rishus Harabim between the two houses on the opposite side of Rishus Harabim. So now you have house A on the left side of Rishus Harabim, house B opposite it on the other side of the Rishus Harabim, and now there are walls cutting through the Rishus Harabim so that you have an enclosed chutzner, an enclosed courtyard between house A and house B. So what do you have now? Now you have a chutzner, you have a courtyard that has two residents in it. Are you allowed to transfer something from one of the houses to the chutzner? No. If you have a keli sheshavas babayis, you have something that started out Shabbos in one of these houses, you're not allowed to take it out into this newly made courtyard because the courtyard has two residents in it. It has Ruvain on the left side of Rishus Harabim and Shimon on the right side of Rishus Harabim. So v'kifam einam Yehudim mechitza b'Shabbos, non-Jewish construction workers came and they created a chutzner out of what was the Rishus Harabim on Shabbos, be'inyan, in such a manner, sheyesh beineim k'may chutzner, so that between the two houses there's now something similar to a courtyard, sheshnei batim psuchim lai, that both of these houses open onto, v'hareihem oisrim ze al zeh, and Reuven and Shimon aser on each other because they both open up onto this new shared courtyard. Einam yecholim levatel kol echad lechaveroi. Reuven cannot be mevatel rishus to Shimon. Shimon cannot be mevatel rishus to Reuven in order so that they should be able to take things out of their houses into this newly constructed chutzner. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Cotton Chaf Hey. Einam yecholim levatel. They cannot be mevatel rishus one to the other. What would be the point of this bittul rishus? Says the Chavetz Chaim, Kedei sheyuchal chaveroi lehishtamesh. Because what do we have here? We have Ruvain opens up onto this new chutzner, Shimon opens up onto the new chutzner. Now it's very interesting. Before these goyim came and created this chutzner, you wouldn't have been allowed to take anything out from either house into this area, because this area was a Rishus Harabim. So the two houses were Rishus HaYachid's Da'araisa, and the middle was a Rishus Harabim Da'araisa. So you weren't allowed to take anything out from either one of these houses into the Rishus Harabim. Now, on Shabbos, Goyim came and put up these walls and constructed an area that is now Mida'araisa, a Rishus HaYachid. So now the two homeowners look, Reuven and Shimon look, and they say, hey, wow, we now have this chutzner, which is a Rishus HaYachid. Maybe we should take our lawn chairs out of the house and bring them into this new chutzner, and we could have a chavrusa shaf. We could learn Daf Yomi together outside in the chutzner, sitting on our chairs. Can't do that. It's a common chutzner. You needed a Ruvei Chatzeros. Obviously, there was no Ruvei Chatzeros because at the outset of Shabbos there was no chutzner. So nobody made it a Ruvei Chatzeros. So one of them says, oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. Reuven says, I'll be mevatel rishus to you, Shimon. Once I'm mevatel rishus, I give up my rights in this newly created chutzner. So now the chutzner is all yours. So now you could take a lawn chair out of your house and you could bring it into the chutzner. Reuven can't. Reuven would not be allowed to, because first of all, he wasn't mevatel the rishus of his house to Shimon. So the chutzner belongs to Shimon, the house belongs to Reuven. To take a lawn chair from the house to the chutzner would be from one rishus to another. Even if he was mevatel the rishus of his house to Shimon, he still would not be allowed to take a lawn chair out of his house into this new chutzner. Why? Because remember, now it would be Reuven who's a yachid, he's an individual. He's being mevatel rishus to Shimon, who's also a yachid, who's also an individual. So we have one person being mevatel rishus to one person. We said that in such a case, a yachid is not nasa oireach. A yachid is not halachically seen as being a guest klape another yachid. So if he's not a guest, so then if he takes something out of the house, even if he takes something out of Shimon's house and brings it into the chutzner, is like he's being chayzer or machzik. He's reneging on his bittul rishus and he's taking it back. So Reuven, if Reuven is mevatel rishus to Shimon, he's not gaining anything for himself. He's not going to be allowed to be moitzi into the chutzner. But at least Shimon will be able to take a chair out into this newly created chutzner, and he theoretically would be allowed to learn the daf outside in this new chutzner. Says the Mechaber, no, he's not allowed to. So the reason why Reuven wanted to be mevatel rishus is like the Chavetz Chaim says in the beginning of Kais Katan Chafei, Kedei sheyuchal chaveiro lehishtamesh, so that at least Shimon should be allowed to go make use out of this new chutzner. But the Mechaber says you're not allowed to do this. You cannot use bittul rishus in this case, where this chutzner was created by Goyim on Shabbos. Why not? Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'atam. The reason why bittul rishus is not effective over here is the kevan shelo yehayu yichaylim la'arev yachad miba'od yom. Since on erev Shabbos, could you have made it a Ruvei Chatzeros here? Absolutely not. There was no chutzner. On erev Shabbos, there were two houses opening up onto a Rishus Harabim. So on erev Shabbos, there was no possibility of making an erev over here. The whole chutzner and the whole possibility of an erev only came about on Shabbos. So since that's the case, since there was no possibility of making an erev on erev Shabbos, Amrinan, in this case we say, Kevan shenesar lemiktzas haShabbos, since this chutzner was forbidden for part of Shabbos, nesar l'chol haShabbos, it remains forbidden for the entirety of Shabbos, v'loi mahani bittul, and bittul is not effective, bittul is not a factor over here, you cannot use bittul rishus. Now I saw in Dirshu footnote, number 23, which is in the back on page 31, he makes just a point that's worth making. He says, how about, what's the status of the chutzner itself? Are you allowed to carry inside this newly created chutzner? You're not allowed to take anything from the houses into the chutzner or from the chutzner into the houses. But how about in the chutzner itself? Are you allowed to be metaltal? Are you allowed to carry inside the chutzner? Says the Dirshu in footnote 23. Even though tiltal in the chutzner itself is mutter, even though this is a newly created chutzner that was constructed by non-Jews on Shabbos. We had this halacha beferish earlier in Siman Shin Samach Beis Sif Gimel. Shemechitza hanasis b'Shabbos shma mechitza. A mechitza that is made on Shabbos is a valid mechitza. Afal pikein. Even so, inyan levatel echad lechaveroi. When it comes to the question of being mevatel rishus, ein mayol ma shehekifu b'Shabbos. These mechitzas that were created on Shabbos are not going to be usable. You cannot use bittul rishus. Okay, let's go to Sif Katan Vav. Says the Mechaber, Yerish mevatel rishus. Somebody who inherits a property on Shabbos could be mevatel rishus to others. What's the case? She'em loy erav moirishoy. If the person that he inherited the property from had not made an erev, umeis b'Shabbos, and he died on Shabbos, v'hayoyrish ba ladar b'chatzer, and now the person who's inheriting the rishus wants to come live in the chatzer on Shabbos, v'oiser, so that he's now going to aser on the other b'nei chatzer, yachal levatel rishusai, he could be mevatel his rishus to the other b'nei chatzer, so that the other b'nei chatzer should be allowed to be metaltel. What's the case over here? The case is a simple case. We have 20 people that live in a chatzer. The resident of unit number 20 is a very nice old man. The residents of units 1 through 19 joined in Eruv Chatzeros. Unit number 20 never joined in the Erev for whatever reason. Mr. Nice Old Man in unit number 20 never joined in the Erev. So now tiltal in this chatzer is aser, because you have two entities. You have 1 through 19 that joined in an Erev, and you have number 20 who never joined in the Erev. Now, number 20, unfortunately, is niftar on Shabbos. He dies on Shabbos, but he has a son. His son lives outside the chutzner, but his son yarshined unit number 20. He inherited unit number 20. Now, like the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, as long as the son who inherited unit number 20 is not around, if he is not going to move in on Shabbos, unit number 20 is not going to aser on the other 19, because unit number 20 is a dira b'loi bailim. It's a house that has no people living there. A dira b'loi bailim doesn't aser. But what if word gets to the inheritor? What if word gets to the son that his father died, and he decides, you know what? By me, where I live, there's a blackout and there's no air conditioning and it's 98 degrees and humid. My father had wonderful central air conditioning in his house. So I'm coming to the chutzner for the rest of Shabbos, and I'm going to live in the chutzner. Now he comes to live in the chutzner on Shabbos. Now unit number 20 is a dira with Bailam, and it asers on the other 19. So now he comes in, the other 19 say, hey, without you, we would be allowed to be metaltal in the chutzner. Now that you're here, we can't be metaltal from our houses in the chutzner. We can't take our chairs out to the Pirkei Avos. So the guy, the son who's inheriting unit number 20 says, I'll be mevatel rishus to you. I'll be mevatel rishus to you. And now everything is yours. The chutzner is yours. I'm a yachid, you're a rabbim. So I'm nasikoi reach klapi the rabbim. I become a guest by the rabbim. And now everybody's good. You could take things out from your houses. You could take your lawn chairs out to the lawn for the Pirkei Avos. And if you're machzik rishus in the chutzner, if you take things out of your houses to the chutzner before I do anything, and if I'm also mevatel rishus not only of the chutzner, but I'm mevatel rishus from the house as well, and you take something out of my house to the chutzner, then I could even take a lawn chair from my house out onto the chutzner, and it doesn't look like I'm taking my rishus back, because I'm a guest. I'm doing it in my status as a guest. So says the Mechaber, you should know Yorish mevatel rishus. This works. A Yorish, an inheritor, can be mevatel rishus. Shem loy erev my rishai. If the one he's inheriting from did not join the erev, umeis b'Shabbos, and he dies on Shabbos, v'hayorish ba'lador b'chatzer v'oiser, and the son is coming to live in the chatzer so that he asers on the others, yachal mevatel rishusai, he could be mevatel rishus to the others, and that is effective. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut and chaf. Vav, the son, the one who's inheriting, is coming to live in the chutzner, so he's going to aser on the other b'nei chutzner. Aval, says the Chavetz Chaim, im lo haya baladur, if he would stay where he is and he doesn't come to live in the chutzner, eino yoser al menei chutzner, then he wouldn't daser on the other menei chutzner. The dira b'loy bayim lo shmei dira, because the dira b'loy bayim doesn't count. V'chanal b'simin shenayin al siv dalet. V'ayin la'el masha kasav nusham b'bir halacha. He tells us we should take a look at what we said over there in the Be'er Halacha, and I reminded myself what this was, but I forgot. So let me just take a quick check over here in Shin Ayin. The importance of Chazar, Rabbi Isai. Shin Ayin Al Sif Dalit. Right, he said, the Mishnah Berurah pointed out over here that the Mechaber is paskening like the Rosh in Tosfos, but he says there are other Rishonim that are chaylik on this, and they hold that in a case like this there would be a problem. What would the problem be? We should have realized right away what the problem would be. The problem, according to the other Rishonim, is that this is a chutzner that was nesar for miktzas HaShabbos. For the at least part of Shabbos, tiltal from the houses to this chutzner was usher. Because let's remember what happened over here. The nice old man in unit number 20 never became part of the Erev. So at the outset of Shabbos, tiltal was usher from the houses to the chutzner. It's only now that the nice old man in unit number 20 was nifter, and this fellow inherited the house, it's only now that we're using bittul rishos, or if he doesn't move in, it's a dira b'loy bailim. But wait a second, it was utzer for miktzas HaShabbos. Why isn't it utzer for the entirety of Shabbos? So there are Rishonim that hold that it taka would be utzer. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut in Chav Zayin, Yachal Levatel Rishusai. The inheritor, the son who's inheriting the property, he could be Mevatel Rishus, and it is effective. Afti Ibayl Eruve Me Esmail Loi Motzi Ma'ariv. See, again, the Mishnah Chavetz Chaim is attacking really the same problem. He's saying, wait a second, why is his Bittul Rishus effective? Would he have been able to be Mevatel Rishus at the outset of Shabbos? No. It wasn't his at the outset of Shabbos. Would he have been able to make an Eruv at the outset of Shabbos? No, it wasn't his at the outset of Shabbos. So why don't we say that since it was also L'Miktzah Shabbos, it's Nesar L'Kol Shabbos, since he couldn't do anything at the outset of Shabbos? Says the Chavetz Chaim, no, that's not a factor over here. Afilo Halchi Mahani Bituloi. His Bittul Rishus is still effective. Mishum de Yoirish Kare Da'avuahu. Because a Yoirish, somebody who inherits, is looked upon halachically, and literally this means he is the foot of the father. A son who inherits, he falls straight into the shoes of the father. Now the father could have been ma'ariv on Erev Shabbos. If the father wanted to join the Erev on Erev Shabbos, he could have. Since the father could have theoretically joined an Erev on Erev Shabbos, so now the son who takes his place, his bittul rishus on Shabbos is considered effective. Now let's turn to the final sif in what has been a very, very complicated siman. Let's go to sif zayin. Says the Mechaber, mevatlin, somebody could be mevatel rishus, v'choizrin, and then he could go back on his bittul rishus, so he could take what he was mevatel back, u'mevatlin, and then somebody else could be mevatel rishus. Kaloimar, what does this mean? Shemevatlim rishusam b'nei chotzer zu leb'nei chotzer acheres. Let's say you had two chatzeros. You had chotzer A and chotzer B, and they did not join in a common erev. But now something has come up, and now they realize that the Pirkei Avos shir is in one of the two chatzeros on Shabbos afternoon, and they want to be able to take lawn chairs from one chotzer to the other chotzer. So the residents of chotzer A could be mevatel rishus to chotzer B. And now what will happen? The residents of Chotzer B now own everything. They can take lawn chairs from their Chotzer and bring it to Chotzer A. Chotzer A is not going to be allowed to take lawn chairs from their houses to Chotzer B because they don't become guests by Chotzer B because it's a Rabbim to a Rabbim, and if they will take lawn chairs from their houses to Chotzer B, it looks like they're taking their Bittul Rishus back. But once they're Mevatel Rishus, the people from Chotzer B could take lawn chairs from their houses and bring it to Chotzer A. So, very nice. The residents of Chotzer A could be Mevatel Rishus to Chotzer B, so that they should be able, Chotzer B should be able to bring to Chotzer A. or all the people of a chutzner could be mevatel rishus to one of the residents of the chutzner, ad sheyitziu ma sheyirtzu. They could be mevatel rishus until he transfers whatever he wanted to transfer from his house to the lawn. V'chayzrin, and then they could go back on this bittul rishus, umevatlim la'oisam shebittul lahem. Now they could be mevatel in the other direction. Ad sheyitziu gam heim ma sheyirtzu. So again, let's use the analogy of Chatzar A and Chatzar B. So Chatzar A was mevatel rishus to Chatzar B, so that the residents of Chatzar B could take lawn chairs from their houses to the lawn of Chatzar A for the Pirkei Avos. Oh, now, after the Pirkei Avos, somebody gets up and he says, we had a Pirkei Avos, but we didn't have a Parshas HaShavua. The Parshas HaShavua is going to be in the other Chatzar. So now we need to be able to take lawn chairs in the other direction. Okay, so first Chatzar A was mevatel rishus to Chatzar B. That allowed Chatzar B to move their lawn chairs from their houses to Chatzar A. Now Chatzar A will take back their bittul rishus, and now Chatzar B will be mevatel their rishus to Chatzar A. Now everything belongs to Chatzar A, and they can take their lawn chairs from their houses over to Chatzar B. So you could play this game, kind of. We're talking about Isurei D'Rabbanan over here. We're not talking about Isurei D'Oraisa. So the Chazal allowed for this mechanism that you could go ahead, you could do bittul rishus, then you could take the bittul rishus back, then you could do a bittul rishus in the other direction. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Eis Cotton Chavav, Chav Zayin. Yachal levatel rishusai. No, I'm sorry again. Eis Cotton Chav Ches, the bottom line. Eis Cotton Chav Ches. V'chayzrim umevatlim la'oisam. If they wouldn't do this, if they wouldn't take back the bittul rishus and then go be mevatel in the other direction, remember, when you have a rabbim to a rabbim, like we're talking about over here, Chatzar A to Chatzar B, so if Chatzar A was mevatel rishus to Chatzar B, the residents of Chatzar A would not be allowed to take their lawn chairs from their houses to Chatzar B. Afilu bitlu gam rishus pateim. Even if they were mevatel not only the rishus over their chutzner, but the rishus over their houses as well, they still would not be allowed to take from their houses to Chatzar B, hayol v'hem rabbim, because they're a rabbim, and they're being mevatel to a rabbim, ve'enam nasim orchim. They don't become guests by the rabbim. And therefore, if they tried to be mitzi from their houses to their rishus, they wouldn't be doing it in the context of guests. They would be chayzer or machzik. They would be taking back their bittul rishus. Siman Shin Pesif Dalid, and that concludes what has been a very, very difficult siman, very hard sugya of bittul rishus. Rabbi Isai, I tried. I hope I did a good job. I hope I was able to give this over to you in a way that you were able to understand it, and I hope that the Chevra tries to go ahead and chazer this iber. This very, very complicated sugya. I can tell you that now we're going at least to the Shin Pei Beis. We're going to go into things that are a little bit easier. Okay, thank you for listening, and I hope that maybe next week we'll get to see each other live. I'm still in the middle of Sheva Brachas, so maybe next week we'll get to see each other live. Be well.